problem didn't start in my garage. It started when the HOA decided I was a problem. From the day I moved in, their president, Miriam Cole, had it out for me. She styled herself as queen of the board, and she treated me like her personal project. I kept my place sharp. Lawn cut, driveway clean, flags folded the way the army taught me. But what Miriam hated was my garage. Not the structure itself, but what she thought I kept inside. At first it was letters, passive-aggressive notes about community standards and storage violations. I brushed it off as HOA nonsense. Then came bogus fines, parking tickets I never saw, warnings about visible hazards, threats about unapproved storage. Each message carried the same smug line, cooperate or life gets harder. I documented everything. Photos, letters, timestamps, sheriff reports. Still, one morning I walked out to find my windshield smashed, 2 tires slashed, and a note. Next time more. Neighbors whispered her name but stayed silent. Miriam had clout. They looked away. I tightened security. Extra lights, upgraded cameras, motion sensors. I told my daughter, don't trust anyone flashing an HOA badge. Call the sheriff. She laughed at my paranoia but listened. The HOA meetings were worse. Miriam smiled while I presented evidence of harassment. She leaned in and said, "You're making enemies." That was her threat. I called an old friend, Marcus, a contractor I once commanded. We set up hidden feeds covering blind spots. We joked about being in a spy movie. The jokes didn't last long. One evening while Marcus and I reviewed the camera feeds, we heard it. Metal grinding from the garage. On the screen, 4 men in reflective vests marked HOA security prying at my garage door. Crowbars, bolt cutters, fake badges dangling from lanyards. I retrieved my service pistols, tucked one behind me, and headed out with Marcus at my side. Afternoon. "Gentlemen," I said, stepping into the doorway. They froze. One, taller than the rest, puffed up and waved a clipboard. "Official HOA business. Hazardous materials." "We're authorized," Marcus barked a laugh. "Authorized by who, Miriam?" "You're trespassing." The smallest one panicked, rushed forward with cuffs, thinking he'd make a citizen's arrest. Wrong move. I twisted his wrist, dropped him on the concrete. Marcus slammed another into my workbench. The other 2 tried a desperate charge. We split and dropped them fast. Training never fades. The 4 ended up sprawled on the floor, winded and scared. I leaned in, voice sharp as glass. "Impersonating officers is a federal crime. Breaking and entering is a felony. At attempted assault, you're finished." One cracked. Miriam told us. "The tires, the windshield," she said, "scare you off." Marcus called the sheriff. Sirens arrived within minutes. Deputies cuffed the fake enforcers and stacked the charges. Impersonation, burglary, conspiracy, vandalism, armed trespass. Phones seized, texts exposed, every order traced back to Miriam. Neighbors started speaking up. Miriam had fined them for lawn ornaments, fences, even garden gnomes. She'd threatened liens, staged raids, and harassed families. My case was only the worst. Civil court came next. My attorney demanded $125,000 for damages and harassment. The HOA insurer paid $100,000 plus my costs. Miriam personally owed $15,000. Criminal court? The imposters got probation, fines, and permanent records. Miriam herself was barred from HOA leadership and fined another $10,000. When it ended, I stood in my garage beside Marcus, staring at the tools and gear they'd tried to steal. For the first time, the space felt truly secure. Neighbors shook my hand. The HOA, once feared, was stripped down and restructured. They thought paperwork and intimidation gave them power. They didn't know I was a commander,